Hi, welcome back to my kitchen for our Halloween special cooking edition part 1. And we're actually going to use the same recipe in both of the videos. So it's going to be kind of interesting. We're going to be using up our Halloween candy today to make a delicious Halloween brownie. So the reason I don't have anything set out here on the counter is because we're going to start off over on my stove. So I will see you there in just a second. Okay, let's make our brownies. This recipe is exactly the same for both the ice cream cake and the candy brownies, and it's a one pot, kind of a wonder meal. And it just starts off by melting a regular salted stick of butter in a pan. This is over medium heat right now, but I'll probably turn it down. And to this pan, I'm going to add 1 cup of dark chocolate chips. Beautiful. And I'm gonna let those melt down. We do not want to burn these. That's critical. Burnt chocolate is not delicious. Some caramelized foods are delicious, but chocolate is not one of those. Chocolate's kind of delicate that way. And the reason we put the butter in first is it kind of protects that from happening or prevents that from happening. And you're not destroying anything by going crazy with cranking your heat up. I definitely would not put it above medium heat. Just be patient. When in doubt, go a little bit lower, and it's just going to take a couple of seconds longer. But as you can see, you know, it was probably like a minute, and it's almost totally dissolved. And to this, looks like we're about there. To this, we're going to add a tablespoon of cocoa powder. This just enforces that chocolate flavor, makes it extra chocolatey. Stir that in. You shouldn't really get any lumps. That's another reason to have this heat on. It actually, for something like cocoa powder, it really does help it dissolve better. And now I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of sugar, just regular white sugar. And we are going to stir that in. And once everything kind of seems like dissolved, that's probably when I'll kill the heat. I'm going to give it just another minute before that happens. All right, at this point, I am going to add our 1/4 cup of milk. I did try this recipe without liquids, and the brownies were just not a good texture. And this is whole milk, and it actually does add a really great texture to the brownies. I didn't try it with cream. You probably could use cream, but the whole milk worked really well. So if you don't want to buy like a giant jug of it, they usually have the smaller containers of it, and that's what I buy. All right, that looks good to me. Let me test it with my finger. Yeah, I mean, it's not hot at all. Tastes just awful. I said that in my last video too when I got an excuse to taste it. I am actually going to get it just a tad warmer because the chocolate's still a little bit grainy. But in the meantime, not the chocolate, sorry. The sugar is still a little grainy. In the meantime, I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Get that going. I don't like desserts that don't have any salt in them. I feel like they really need it. I'm also going to go ahead and add my teaspoon of vanilla extract. Good quality vanilla extract, please. Okay, and at this point, I am going to shut the heat off because we don't really need that anymore. And I'm going to stir in 2 whole eggs and 1 yolk. And again, the reason we don't want this too hot is because we are not trying to scramble our eggs. It's definitely not at a temperature that I'm worried about that right now. I mean, yeah, I stuck my finger in it so I could taste it, but it also was kind of telling me where the ingredients are at. And at this point, you can really beat this. It's not going to hurt anything. There's no gluten in here yet. You can really, really give this a great beating because you really want to incorporate those yolks. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. And now I like to add the 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. I like to add it now because that gives me a good chance to incorporate it. You can sift it into your flour, that's fine. I'm a little lazy that way. It's really bad. In culinary school, we sifted everything, but that's because we had like giant bins of ingredients that could get really weird. So baking should not be rocket science. It should not be chemistry, you know, those words are not things that make you want to do it unless you're like super into chemistry. In that case, knock yourself out. But I tend to do a very intuitive approach to baking. I always have. I will follow recipes when it's something that has yeast in it, or something that's like candy, because you really do need to pay attention to your temperatures. But making brownies, come on, let's just have fun. So that was 2/3 of a cup of unbleached all-purpose flour that I just added. And now you just want to be careful with it, because we don't want to beat this to death. Just give your whisk a good shake there too. All right, I'm just mixing this until it's incorporated. We're almost there. I don't want to overmix. I feel pretty good about where that is at. So now I'm going to pour this into my prepared pan. I'll scoot that over so you can see it. This is just a 9 by 13 inch pan that I have buttered just so the brownies release a little more easily. See a little speck of flour right there, I'll get that. And at this point, I am gonna change to my trusty spatula. All right, using a spatula is just really gonna help you get all of the last bits of this chocolatey deliciousness out of your pan. I'm just gonna spread that out. All right, this is the fun part. You get to use any candy that you want. I think you can probably tell that these are peanut butter cups that I have chopped up into pieces, and I'm going to distribute those. And honestly, with this, you can use as little or as much candy as you want, though we are going to make a ganache topping for this that's going to have more candy in it. So you don't necessarily want to go too crazy with this bottom layer. All right, I got all my peanut butter cups in here, and now I'm just going to give these a little poke with my finger, yes. I'm just kind of getting them covered a little bit in the brownie batter. The brownie batter is going to kind of swallow these up, but I feel like you want to sink these down. And there is a reason that I didn't put these in the batter and stir it around. You can see that they're already melting. And if I had stirred them in this batter, because the batter is a little warm, then they would have just dissolved and melted completely. And when you bite into these, you do want a chunk of those candies because it's delicious. And okay, that looks pretty good. This is going into a 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes, and I will show it to you when it gets out. So these brownies just came out of the oven, and I really wish that you guys could smell them. They smell amazing. You can see how glossy the top is, and you can also see that our peanut butter cups didn't totally dissolve into the batter, which is why we pushed them in at the end instead of mixing them in, because otherwise they just melt into a gloopy mess. We're gonna let this cool, and in the meantime, we are going to make our ganache. So let's get that started. This is a cup of heavy cream that I've heated in the microwave till it's almost boiling. And to this, I'm going to add a cup of chocolate chips. And you're gonna know that because the side of your measuring cup is gonna say that you have a cup of cream in here. And when you add your chocolate chips, which I always do and it always splashes everywhere, then you just fill it to the 2-cup line. This is the lazy person's way to do this. I just wanted to show you that I added enough chocolate chips till it got to that 2-cup marker using the displacement method. And I am going to let this sit for about 10 minutes and then I'm gonna stir it and I'll show you what that looks like. Our ganache has been cooling, or ganache ingredients have been cooling for about 10 minutes. And now you just want to start incorporating that chocolate into the cream. So I'm using a fork because I'm doing this in the measuring cup. But you could absolutely, if you have like one of those mini whisks, you could absolutely use one of those. And this might need to get popped back in the microwave. We'll know in just a couple minutes. Takes just a second to start getting everything going. I'm trying not to make as much of a mess as I made when I was putting the chocolate chips in here, which was quite amusing for everyone, I'm sure. You can see it start to change color. But I can tell by how it looks right now that I need to pop this back in the microwave. So I'm gonna do that at probably like 30-second increments until it gets a little bit warmer so that I can completely dissolve the rest of this chocolate. I'll be right back. So I popped this back in. It is starting to look pretty good. It's actually really warm. But my chocolate is dissolved now, and we're gonna add 2 other ingredients. Ingredient number 1 is 2 tablespoons of dark corn syrup. And I am eyeballing this because I don't feel like cleaning my measuring spoons today. I am lazy. But the first time you make this, you can measure. I've been baking a long time, so I kind of know what my measurements are at this point. So this is also a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Good vanilla extract, please. And there's also 1 teaspoon of butter that is in the mixture as well. You can add that when you heat up your cream, but it just gives it even more of a glossy consistency and appearance. And because we're using an extra dark chocolate, I find that it needs a little bit of that sweetness, but because we've got the candy and everything and we're gonna put more candy on top, then we don't want it to be too sweet. So that looks perfect. I'm happy with that. This is pretty warm. I am gonna let this cool off for probably about 30 minutes and then we'll pour it on our brownies. Our brownies have already pretty much cooled off. I'll come back and then we will get this on our brownies and it's gonna be delicious. It's been about 45 minutes and the ganache has cooled off a little bit. It's still warm when I touch the glass, but it's not going to be hot. It's not going to melt our candies. And that's the main reason we wanted to cool off. And every couple of minutes or so, or every 10 minutes, I was kind of stirring it. I think this has been cooling for about 45 minutes actually. I was stirring it because it starts thickening a little bit and getting a coating on the top. So anyway, here are our brownies and we are just going to pour this beautiful ganache right on top. Chocolate lovers, it is definitely your day today. If you don't like chocolate, I don't know if we can be friends. Okay, so I'm going to just tip this a little bit to evenly distribute our ganache. Just gently. I don't want to splash it all the way up the sides, but I want to make sure that it's coating everything. And I'm going to let this sit on here for a few minutes while I chop up my candies that I'm going to top this with. This is where you can really go nuts. You can use whatever candies or nuts that you want to. So I will see you in just a second. I've just been arranging my peanut butter pieces that I've cut up on the top here because ganache is still liquidy, but it's not hot, so it's not going to melt anything. Unfortunately, something did happen to my peanut butter cups in their packaging because one of them was like super melty and sad looking. So I think that is perfect. You know, make it look how you want, make it look as pretty as you want, and we are going to taste these delicious peanut butter cup brownies, which again, you can use any candy for, in just a minute. Okay, it's time to taste. I'm excited. I did have a little taste yesterday. Actually, this has been in my refrigerator overnight because I finished filming kind of late. So I couldn't do my on-camera taste and I haven't had any of it today yet. So I'm gonna hack off this big piece with the peanut butter cup in it. These brownies are moist, but they're not oily. You know, those brownies that are like oily and sticky and the oil comes off on your hands. This has like a fudginess without having that issue, and the ganache sets off the peanut butter cup so perfectly because it's not as sweet. So it gives them the balance. I really hope you guys try this. Please be sure to check out all my recipes on thegamblingchef.com and subscribe on YouTube, like and follow me on Facebook, and I'm also on Instagram. I will see you guys next time.